Hello everyone, I'm the Holy Hermit and I welcome you to a new episode of our podcast. A podcast that still does not have a name or a time schedule, yet here I am making an episode every now and then, out of the blue. Well, it's not really that random to be honest, right guys? Because I make the episodes when I've got something awesome to share with you. Whether it's current news on Diablo or maybe the upcoming changes. But this episode's going to cover all of it. As in, the Season 2 is launched, I'm going to talk all about it. There's a patch 2.2 there are some awesome rumors about some amazing changes that are about to happen. I'm going to try and cover all of that. And in the end, there's also going to be a section on the controversy. Actually, the controversy would be the whole highlight of the podcast. Let's go with that because there are some awesome things I want to talk to you about. I would love to get your feedback on certain things. So here we go, guys. The new episode. Now, before I get into it, I should humbly announce to my awesome friends who kind of don't know who I am and why I record these podcasts. Of course, as you know, I'm Holy Hermit, and recently I was made the MVP on the EU forums. What that basically means is I'm a kind of a mediator. I'm a link between you players and our community managers. As in, if you've got any problems, any concerns you want to raise with Blizzard, I'm the guy. If anything you'd like to share with me, anything constructive that is, I give you my word, like I've always kept my word in the past. I will share all of your feedback to the people, to the powers that be. So with that in mind, guys, I am the MVP of the forums, and I would encourage you all. This is more of a discussion, really, even though we're not sitting face to face. I'm going to be sharing my opinions, and I would love to know yours on the topics that I will be covering. Anything you like, you don't like, please do let me know in the comment section below, and I will promise that I'm going to share that information with you. So do keep that in mind. On we go with this podcast. So we're going to start off big with Season 2. Now, Season 2 has started, and I made a video a couple of days ago, actually, which is what the controversy is. So here I'm actually kind of going on the broader perspective here. Season 2 launched, and I made a video called Top 10 Things to Do in Diablo. If you haven't seen the video, I humbly encourage you all to see it because I will be talking a lot about it. And this podcast is, as I said, it's going to be like a conversation topic, and it's going to surround that because I felt it was an important point to bring up to the community and to get their feedback on it because it's the very first video I made where I had a completely down to the middle mixed reaction. Some people liked it, some people didn't like it. It wasn't that, hey, I didn't like the video and all, which doesn't bother me. It was that people were divided on the nature of Season 2, right? Some people are loving Season 2, myself included, and some people don't like it. And I understand both perspectives, right? So with that in mind, my job right now, as I said, when I'm going to be talking about Season 2, I'll talk about my perspective, right? And do remember that's just a humble opinion from my side. It just represents what I believe in. I could be completely wrong or right, and this is where I'd like your input to, to come in and help me out in this podcast, right? So Season 2 came, guys. If you all know, and if you might seen the activity on the channel that I've had recently, I had some family things, but apart from that, I didn't spend a lot of time playing Season 1, right, guys? We talked about in the last podcast that, hey, Season 1 was okay. It was an amazing start because they gave us what we wanted. We always wanted a competitive environment. Diablo being just a PvE game, we actually had a PvE versus P, right? I mean, you were competing against some computerized animations, but you were actually competing with your fellow friend because you wanted to be on the top. There was no sense of accomplishment, so to speak, in a competitive environment when as far as Diablo 3 was concerned. So we raised our issue, and Blizzard lovingly actually gave us seasons. So Season 1 came out, it also gave us leaderboards. Here was the place where you could actually start all over again, get a couple of new cool legendaries on the way, but basically start all over again, do the same thing, and this time everyone was in a level playing field. I mean, it wasn't like a silly guy like me coming, hey, I played the game from day one. Someone comes, no, I played it in the beta, so I'm better than you, all that. If you like the game, if you enjoy the competitive aspects of the game, here's Season 1 for you. Go and play it. And compete and see how well you do, right? They also introduced greater rifts there where you can actually test your gear and your character, right? Because I'm going to talk about later on. Right now, the game is all about a big mix between the builds you use and the gear you have. Earlier, back in the day, what it used to be, as in Diablo 3 Vanilla, if you had a big wallet in your pocket, then you were pretty much the champion, right? So all of that changed. Competitive nature came into Diablo 3, and it was an amazing thing. We asked and we were delivered by Blizzard, so that was awesome. And Season 1 came by, right, guys? Now this is where my story starts in, and I'm going to share my opinions on why I humbly think Season 2 is better than Season 1, and give Season 2 some time, give it a couple of months or so. This is going to be the best season ever, even though there's one season to compare with. dare I say, it's going to be the coolest thing that's happened to Diablo 2, in my humble opinion. So we'll go into that, but going back to Season 1, before I diverge too much, is Season 1, for a guy like me, I started playing it. I didn't enjoy the aspect of starting all over again. I mean, I'm one of those guys. It takes a while for me to find the items that I want, and if you all know me from this channel, I love making builds. And if you want to make builds right now, as I said, you just don't need your items. You don't just need your build to, do certain things. You need a combination of your build and gear. So to find all that gear again in Seasons, I was dreading it. But then I decided to play it. I played Season 1. And I was like, okay, they've added a couple of season-only legendaries that I would love to get my hands on, and I would love to test them out and see how good they are. Maybe there's a build hidden in there that I have no idea about. So I play Season 1, I get the Vengeful Wind from Monk, which I'm sure you all guys know what the item does. And I tested it out, and I was underwhelmed. So that was Season 1 for me, guys. I enjoyed the leveling aspect, I got up to where I wanted to, I found my first Vengeful Wind. And that's it, I stopped playing Seasons completely. I just straight away went to non-seasonal character, and here I was, like, the clan that I have, 140 odd people in there, I think 10 or 15 of us just didn't want to play Season, and that's again like a little indication of how many people were playing Season and weren't. So people like me, as I said, I'll talk about the good, bad and the ugly about our beloved game. So this for me was the bad part, right? This was the bad part, that I actually left Season 1 and I didn't want to play it because I didn't find anything cool in there. Now fast forward that, Season 1 finished, we got an announcement of Season 2, and we heard about a couple of new features. Of course you get to earn all the achievements again, and if you're the guy who wants to be at the top of the leaderboard, you have the second opportunity in form of the next season. You can compete again, start all over again, get your name on the leaderboard, in terms of Greater Rift, in terms of achievement, in terms of doing conquest. All of that was available, right? All of that became available to you again. But the one thing that a guy like me enjoys in Diablo, and I said before that I'm very strange in that aspect, right guys? I mention it all the time. Most people play Diablo to find loot. That's partly true for me. I play Diablo to find loot so I can make new builds. If my character cannot play with new builds, then I'm bored. I would just simply drop the game. And as you can imagine, I've been playing this game for years and years. To me, this game has build diversity in a certain aspect, and I will talk about that topic because that is the big controversy today. What is build diversity? But going back to that, Season 1 didn't give me anything. Season 2 announcement was made. They talked about certain cool legendaries that they're going to add this time, and I read the description, right? I saw a little video at BlizzCon and I saw an item called Gungdo Gear, and of course that's just one item, but I saw the way it worked, I loved the item, and I'm like, there is no way I'm gonna let this season pass. This is the item I want. I can see probably 3 to 4 builds that I can make out of this item easily without any problem. I'm gonna get this item. So here I was, guys, right? I started playing Season 2, I leveled up my character, I had help in the clan, my friends helped me power level and all. And I found the item, and now right now I'm not even geared completely. I mean, I don't even have my Sun Ruko set, I just have my Gungto gear, and there I am. I'm dual wielding, I'm punching people, generating spirit, and I'm applying the Gungto gear. So what I'm trying to get from this weird point here, guys, is for a guy who gave up on Season 1, who didn't want to play Season, with all the awesome things that it offered for the first time, I really didn't want to play it, right? And as I said, that was the bad, the good, the bad, and the ugly. I haven't talked about the good because it's going to go in a weird order, right? So I am talking about the bad first, that I didn't like Season 1 because there wasn't much for me. I came into Season 2 and I saw what all the classes had to offer. Now this was just for Monk. I also saw legendaries for other classes. I've seen some amazing bows for Demon Hunters, some awesome items. I saw a Wizard Ring which was just astonishingly epic. So there are these things, guys, the new items that have been added that kind of invited a player like me to come back into the game, right? Now, as I said earlier, out of the 140 people in my clan, about 10-20 people were playing non-seasons in Season 1. And right now, if I look at my clan, I see everyone, literally everyone playing Season. And that's a good thing. But then again, you can argue that, hey, yeah, Seasons are there, but there isn't something long-lasting in Season. And that's what I'm going to be talking about today, right? Because I also have these concerns where, hey, what happens if Season 2 is going to be pretty similar to Season 1? Because that's the biggest topic these days, right, guys? Everyone is saying that, hey, Season 1 came and went, Season 2 came and it's here. and I don't see the difference. And my humble job today is to actually show you, from my silly perspective, my humble perspective, do understand that season 2 has a lot more to offer, right? Now, I have mentioned all the little things that they've added in season 2. You've probably seen the patch notes yourself. If you're playing it, you already know what that is, and that is in form of legendaries that are actually game changing. Season 1 legendaries were, dare I say, not so good. They were cool, but they were gimmicky. Whereas season 2 legendaries, dare I say, they are the best legendaries in the game right now. You can compare them to even set legendaries, and a single legendary can hold its own against that big set legendary. That's how amazing these items are. But for some people, that's not enough, right? I mean, getting an item, once you get the item, where is the long term, right? So I understand the problem where everyone is specifying that, hey, once I farm this item, which will take me, let's say 2 hours, 4 hours, if you're lucky 10 minutes, if you're not so lucky like me, I don't know, 10, 20, 50 hours, what am I going to do after that? What's there to keep me held on to season 2? Now, this is where I'm going to get on to the next topic. And do remember, I haven't mentioned the controversy. I kind of have been dipping my toes in it. And that is, the controversy is people are worried about the longevity of this season 2, why season 2 is going to be good. And more importantly, the biggest bunch of questions that I've been getting today are related to the builds. Everyone is saying that build diversity is dead. And I will address that later on when I actually talk about the next big topic. So do keep that in mind, guys. That's the whole bigger picture and the reason why I'm making this podcast for you guys. So onwards, guys. So what makes season 2 good? What would be the future of season 2? Why would season 2 be better? And why should a guy like you, if you enjoy build diversity, if you enjoy finding new items, continue playing season 2? So here's my answer to that, guys. A couple of days ago, we were announced that patch 2.2 is going to be coming out soon. Of course, it's the soon means it's going to come out in weeks, in 2 months, 3 months. I don't know. Again, this is me speculating, but there is a patch 2.2 that's going to be released. And this patch is the sole reason why I decided to continue playing Season 2 and why I would love to. This is a decision I made a couple of days ago after I read the post, and I was glad. I'm still enjoying it. I'm going to be very honest with you. For a guy who didn't enjoy Season 1, even before the news, I was pretty much said that, hey, this Gungdo gear is amazing. How about I find a couple of items here, start my character all over again, making it to the obscenely powerful monk I have in non-seasons, and I want to continue doing that. But as I mentioned, there is obviously a time that you get everything you want and then you're looking, staring in the dark, hey, what do I do now? I'm getting bored. So it's basically the whole bigger aspect of what you do after you've done what you wanted. And this is where patch 2.2 comes in. It's going to be released soonish, and I think Blizzard's going to be awesome at it, and they're going to release it at the right time where everyone's kind of well geared and they do that. These are all speculations, but let's actually get into the meat and the potatoes of this thing, which is, what is patch 2.2? Why is it so important and why is it so amazing? So I am going to be reading from the patch notes. I'm not just going to reiterate. I'm just going to share my opinions, and you be the judge, guys. As I said, this is an opinion-based thing, and I respect everyone's opinion. Actually, I would prefer if you all have different opinions to me, because that way, I get more feedback from you. And the promise is I will share all of that with our beloved Blizzard, and I'll share all the information. So with that in mind, guys, we look at the patch 2.2. I am on the Blizzard website, and the first change they are talking about are the legendary updates. Now, they have declared here that they're going to be releasing 3 new sets, completely new sets they discussed in BlizzCon. They kind of gave us a sneak peek to the 3 new sets that are coming for 3 classes. That's for Demon Hunter, Barbarian, and Wizard. Now, Demon Hunter set, I believe, is called, I'm going to look at the name here, it's called the Unhallowed Essence. And if I'm not mistaken, it's about reducing the cost of your spenders. You vault a lot, you throw a lot of rapid fire skills. I'm not sure, do pardon me, because I haven't seen the set. I don't know what it does, and it's not mentioned here, so I believe it's along those lines. The Barbarian set is Wrath of the Waste, and this lets you be the old school Whirlwind Barb. If you enjoyed Whirlwind skill, and if you enjoyed Rend as well. Rend's another big part of it, because they're going to add some cool items to support this build as well. So if you enjoyed Rending, if you enjoyed dancing like a ballerina, like the good old Barbs, this set is going to make its debut. It's going to be completely new content that's going to be added in the patch, alongside with Delcere's Magnum Opus. Now, this item sounds cool, and out of the 3, this is my favorite, of course, because I play Wizard a lot more than other classes. So this set, I remember clearly, is based on slow time. You cast a slow time bubble, and it has a similar effect to your Sun Wukong set, which is anything that happens, relates to your slow time, gets you deal amplified damage to anything that is trapped inside your slow time, as in you cast a slow time on enemies, you throw a couple of arcane orbs, the consecutive orbs will deal more damage. So it's a really cool set, and it makes Wizard into this into this Arcana being. I'm messing up my words. So back in the days, we've seen Talrasha sets doing fire and all the elemental stuff. This time, Diablo 3 Wizard, in my opinion, is different from Diablo 2 Wizard, as in that Wizard could do lightning, fire, cold, all that cool stuff. But this Wizard is about a new elemental power, and that's the Arcana, the source of all knowledge, the source of all powerful wizard. And this set is going to be focused on that. But enough of the me talking about what they do. The big question right now is, will these sets be as good as the existing sets in the game? Now, this is obviously my understanding, and I haven't seen the first two sets in action, and that's why I did talk about Wizard set. Is in the BlizzCon that I read the information on these sets, and I spoke to some people. These sets are definitely gonna be on par with the best sets you have in the game. So when patch 2.2 hits, you'll get these 3 new sets that can drop for you in game, which are gonna actually add a new playstyle for you to try. Now, this is not gonna be a new playstyle, because I always talk about builds, and I'm very particular about my builds, and I'm kind of horrible as well. To me, if you change 1 or 2 skill, like for example my Fist of the Flying Dragon build I made, or my bell build, if I'm using a fire bell and if you're using a lightning bell, to me that's pretty much the same by just changing one element. It's not a different build, it's just a variation on the build. But these items that you find in the game in patch 2.2 when it released, they're completely new sets that give you a completely new build. So again, I talked about the span of the your gameplay. How long will you play season 2? In a couple of weeks, months, or whatever the time it takes, you'll have 3 new sets to try. So to me, this blows my mind, and this is something I'm going to do. I'm actually planning to make a Barbarian as well, because I really want to try the Wrath of the Waste set too. So for those who are wondering what's going to happen in season 2, is it a good thing for me to actually endeavor on this season? Should I bother? To me, this was the first answer that, hey, I'm going to play this, because they're already, they're adding 3 new sets. I mean, how cool is that? This is without any expansion or anything. This is just a free content they add. So pretty awesome, right? And that's not it. This is where, like, for me, it was set in stone, guys. And as I said, I'm just talking out of my heart. I'm being very honest here. And that is, they're actually redesigning 7 existing sets in the game, and they're making them equally powerful to the ones that are operable right now. So the mentions are, like the names they've given are, the Zunimaster's Haunt is going to be reworked, Raiment of the Thousand Storms. I am so glad, Blizzard, thank you, a personal thanks for changing this set. I absolutely did not like the gameplay of Dashing Strike, because you would be running around like a maniac. It was not efficient. It was seizure inducing, can't even say that word. And Blizzard is awesome. They have changed the set, so they're going to be changing Raiment of Thousand Storm. If I can remember this, and again, this is speculation if you want to know what this set will do, guys, is that your spirit generators will deal more damage, and it's basically it's going to be a combination strike oriented set. So it's going to be focused on you dual wielding most of the time. Maybe you can use a two-hander if you want to, because that's the fashion these days. It's all about attacking with your primary spirit generators. This set is all about spirit generators, if I'm not mistaken. I can be wrong, of course. They're going to retweak the Roland set. If if you're going to shield bash, they're going to improve the quality of that. Now, Talrasha's set is also going to get improved. Now, this is pretty cool, and I like that, right, guys? Because Talrasha is already kind of good set. The meteors drop, and it does pretty good damage. But I like it that Blizzard is not content with this, and they want to make it even more powerful. Ina's set is going to change. Thank you so much. People using Ina's set in the game right now, I think to me, it's not a set that's worth using, but it's going to get reworked. So they're changing Ina's set again. Natalia's Vengeance. Now, this set is pretty good. I like it already because I enjoy the aspects of it, but I think they're improving it, and I'm a happy man. And also the Immortal King set. So the 7 sets that are already in the game that we complain about, saying that, hey, these are not up to par with the best sets out there, with the best builds out there. As in, if I want to play a class, there's no way I can put a Raiment of the Thousand Storms and expect to do greater F40 plus, things like that. Blizzard listened to us, and in the next patch, alongside with 3 new builds, 3 new sets they're introducing, they're also retweaking these 7 existing sets. So if we add that up, obviously an idiot like me would tell you that that's 10 different playstyles, guys. For a guy who enjoys diversity in the game, very soon enough we'll get all these items. I'll open 10 different playstyles for you to try out as a Diablo 3 player, and that's something amazing. You know, to me, this was, as I said earlier, it's something that's just marks completely, you know, set in stone for me, the idea that I will be playing Season 2, because once I get my items, once I get my Sanruko set and, you know, the incense torch and all the good stuff, the game's not over yet, yeah, right? Because I still want to keep farming all the items. I want to keep all the items, so when the new sets launch in, either the change is retroactive, I'm not sure about that. Probably it won't be. The new sets, of course, you'll have to find, but maybe the existing ones are retroactive. I'm really not certain about that. But nonetheless, you can try new playstyles and you can work towards that if you actually play Season 2. A very, very big reason, because I will ask you one question right now, because of which something I saw in my clan which kind of bothered me as well, is people are so, you know, and people, I mean me, you know, I'm the same person, that we are so focused on getting a certain specific item right now that anything else we find, we simply take that and we salvage it, right? I mean, if you're playing the game and if you find a Raymond shoulders, you're simply going to salvage it because, hey, you know, it's not Sanruko's shoulders. And I understand that, right? I understand that in a way that, hey, if it's not powerful enough, why should I bother? You know, the only item I need is my Sanruko shoulders. Why do I bother with anything else? So all of that can change. You know, if you're farming in Season 2 right now, saving all sorts of item would be a good thing, because when this new patch launches, you can implement all these cool things and make an awesome build. And I'll be here, guys, trust me, I'll be here and I'll be making builds for you as always. But let's get back to the patch. There's also another awesome thing that's mentioned here. So if this wasn't enough, they're adding new sets, they're retweaking the old sets, but on top of that, they're adding new legendary item powers. Now, these are basically new items, actually. Yes, they are. So the one item here I'm looking at is called Seismic Treads. I will link this post in the comments, in the description below, guys, if you want to check it out. So the Seismic Treads, guys, its legendary power lets your ground storm cause an avalanche. So that's a new item they're adding. And another one, my favorite one, at least from one I can see here, is the Gauntlets of the Rain, which your Rain of Vengeance will deal 84% increased damage, and that number is in blue, which means it can probably go up to 100 if I'm not mistaken. So if you just think about that, guys, a skill that deals anywhere from 3,000 to 4 to 5 to 6,000% weapon damage, if you make that skill deal another 100% more damage, we are going into the crazy territory. Bear in mind, your Natalia set is also getting an improvement. So do you see like where I'm going on with this, guys? That they are actually adding items to complement your sets. They're improving the existing ones and they're adding new ones as well. So build diversity, the question that we're going to get onto later on, all of that will be improved, and all of that will be, you know, because of these awesome additions Blizzard is making. So that's patch 2.2, guys. I'm going to go further on. So these are the main things I really want to talk about in patch 2.2, really. The other things that they've added here are the adventure mode update, which gives you a new layout to your rift. If you're playing in Fields of Slaughter, Stinging Winds, it says Festering Woods and Fields of Misery, you get a cool new layout. So it's not the same old area. You don't get bored by it. So little cool things like that. They've added 20 new bounties as well. So you can embark on some really cool new ones that you haven't done before, which is kind of good, because if you're achievement hunting as well, if you're after this ghost and this person, these bounties will help you get there, you know, easily, and also of course get some rift keystone fragments as well. And another thing, actually, oh my god, there's a lot here actually. Class updates. I did see this before, but I forgot about it. I don't know how. They're also mentioning here that they're going to improve the quality of some skills that you actually use. Something like Crusader's Punish will be buffed, Witch Doctor's Fetches Psychopaths will be buffed. So basically what they're saying is not just items are going to be improved when patch 2.2 hits. The class would also get, all the classes will get an update. Their skills will get retweaked to balance the game out more, and this is going to be an awesome thing. So when skills get updated, usually almost all the time good things happen, you know. And I'm actually counting Exploding Palm, by the way. That was also a cool change. If you are really into goblins like me, just want to go after them and kill them and get all the loot, they're actually introducing 3 new goblins, as I can see right now. One of them is called Gelatinous Sire. This gentleman splits into 3 people. You gotta kill all these 3 and they give you loot. The next one is called the Gilded Baron. For those of you who like to get tons of gold, this man actually looks like gold, so come on, you know. That's gonna be good. And the last one is apparently gonna be challenging, which I'm looking forward to as well. It's called the Insufferable Miscreant. I mean, yeah, the name says it all, right, guys? if you chase after this guy, he's going to create obstacles and diversions for you, and he's going to make sure you can't get to him, and your job would be to kill him. So he's going to be one of the harder goblins to kill. So get ready your dashing strike and your teleport, because that's how you get to him. A couple of new things. This is a really nice. Now I think this is more of a quality of life improvement, right? And I'm glad Blizzard is doing it. So let me read this thing right here in front of you now. And it says that you're going to get a new cosmetic window. So if you're like me, you bought the Diablo 3 Collector's Edition, and you also got the Reaper of Souls Collector's Edition. You get those awesome items. You get the wings, you get the dyes, you also get the Spectral Hound. All that thing, and you really don't want to keep them in your inventory because they take up space. I never do, even though I'd love to have them, because hey, greed over need, as the achievement says, right? But this time they're actually giving you a new cosmetic window. It's something like your inventory, I can imagine, but it opens separately, so you can't store anything else in there except for your cosmetic items. So that means you can keep all of that stuff along with your completely empty inventory. So this is pretty awesome, some quality of life changes. And the final thing they have mentioned here is about people who patch the game, people who download the game. They've made sure that you can patch the game more easily, and yeah, if you are installing some other updates as well, if you're installing the game from start, they'll change the file format. I'm not going to get into too much of these details. I actually know all about this because I had these problems, so I know exactly what they're doing. But the short story of this is you can install the game quicker, you can patch the game quicker, and it's going to run smoother. So this is patch 2.2, guys, right? I've pretty much read everything there is to know about this. As I said before, I will link this post in the comments in the description for you to check it out. But this was patch 2.2, and why I talked about patch 2.2 is it's going to be released in the upcoming months when you actually have season 2 under its way. It's not that season 2 is going to finish, patch 2.2 is going to come, and then another season will start. So I'm very sure this is basically again speculation from me, but I'm very, very certain that the patch will hit in the cycle of season 2. So just imagine that, guys. You currently have a couple of legendaries to find. I do understand there are not that many, but the ones that you are after are certainly game changing, and those are the legendaries you can only find in season, as in if you're not playing season 2, there's no way you can get your hands on them. So a guy like me is really motivated just to play the seasons right now, to get my character to where it was. And in a couple of weeks, months, or whatever time, patch 2.2 is going to come, which is going to introduce so many awesome things that's just going to make season 2 like an amazing experience. So this is like my take on season 2, and I did mention about opinions, and my final opinion on this, guys, definitely would be that yeah, seasons 2 started. If we compare seasons, I 100% say, and this is my opinion, that season 2 was way better than season 1. Season 2 was the first try by Blizzard. The legendaries that were introduced in the game were not really that cool. Season 2 did it right. It did it right from the start. It gave you these awesome items to look for. By the time you actually end up finishing finding them, hopefully we're going to get the next patch, which is just going to be so huge compared to what we've had in the past. This would probably be the first time, if I can imagine, guys, if I can think about it, that your character would have you would actually be striving for your character to find different sets, because all these sets are going to be very competitive with each other, and they're going to be awesome. So this is patch 2.2 that's included in season 2, and I'm really stoked about it, guys. That's why I love playing season 2. I can't get enough of it. Anytime I get from my busy schedule now, I play Diablo, and I've probably got Paragon 120 plus character, which you'll see on the video that I'm gonna put something for you to see whilst I talk over the video, right? So I'm enjoying season 2, and the future of season 2 looks awesome. The start of season 2 was better than season 1, so in my opinion, season 2 is awesome. It's good, and it's gonna get. I'm gonna rephrase it. Season 2 is good, and it's gonna get awesome in the upcoming weeks and months and so on, so to speak. So there we go. Now, all of this in mind, guys, the next topic I'm going to get onto is the controversy. So I'm slowly building up into that. So I've shared my opinions here, but what does the new content mean? That's the big question. The first question I'm going to put forward to you guys is, they're releasing all this new content, they're releasing new items. What does that mean for you, for a new player? What does this entail to? To me, all of this basically gives you a lifespan. It gives you an extra lifespan. If you're not if you're getting bored with the game, if you're the person who's Paragon 700, 800, 900, you have everything there is for every class to find out. Then season 2 gives you a couple of new items to look for, and when the new sets come in, it's just going to give you a new playstyle. But all of that basically boils down to one thing, and that's your quality of gameplay, which is the exact topic I wanted to get on, and that's the way you play the game is the way you play with your build, right? Now, this was something strange back in the days when I used to talk about it, because back in the day it was all about finding items. You find a good item, you put it on the auction house, and that was the achievement, or like the big thing in vanilla, right? I mean, that's the thing that mattered the most. It was all about people's gold. But right now, it's all about how strong your character is. We've been given this awesome benchmark in form of Greater Rift, that if you think your character is good enough, and if you still want to be competitive, back then all you compared were your wallet. Now you can actually compare your skill, and that skill means you need to have the right items, you need to have the ancient version of all items. I mean, come on, let's face it, that's how you get on top, right? Every little bit counts. And also the builds that you use, right? It's about the build that you've got on your skill slot that lets you deal ever so slightly more damage than the person sitting or the person in your friends list. And that's the new Diablo, right? That's a new world in Diablo where you have monster slaying, everything is there, you go out and you farm with your friends, you have a good time. But if you feel like going into super serious mode, Greater Rifts are only one step away, right? So at this point, we're going to talk about builds, guys. How builds influence your gameplay in the new Brave version of Diablo, right? You have two ways of playing Diablo right now. You can either play your game on Torment 6. You can do rifts on Torment 6. You can farm with your friends. You can get all the loot you want. You have a pretty good chance of finding legendaries. You have a guaranteed chance of getting stuff out of your bounty bags. All of that is well and good. You know, that's your, I would say, the semi-casual way of playing Diablo 3. But if you want to get super serious, as I said, you can actually go to Greater Rift and you can put on your best build and you can try things out there. Now, this is where the problem comes in, guys, right? This is where we're going to talk about the problems in builds and how our expectation as community, we kind of fell into this crevasse on our own, right? Now, we would always ask Blizzard back in the days, and I'm going to go on a little tangent here again, is we asked Blizzard to give us a competitive way of playing Diablo. I mean, we enjoyed monster hunting, but we were like, no, we want to play this game with our friends, but we want to compete. We want to see how good we are. And we got seasons, right? Now, seasons give you they give you a couple of awesome things, and that's, you know, it gives you the satisfaction of being on top. It gives you the drive, the motivation to get there. But there is one aspect of that, and that is you want to get there by the best possible way, right? I mean, I'm sure you'll agree if there are 10 ways on top of the same mountain, as I used this this quote all the time, one way is going to be shorter than the others, right? One way is going to be quicker than the others. One way is going to be slightly more efficient than the others. Maybe that's 1% efficient or 50% more efficient. That's something we're going to talk about in a couple of minutes. But as you can all understand, that if you want to be the best, then you have to use a way that is the most advantageous of them all, right? And this is where Greater Rifts come in and the builds you use. So right now, the game is pretty much divided into two kinds of builds, and that is, one kind of builds are the builds that actually don't even have a name. You know, they are the builds that you just slap on and you feel bad about yourself, and you're playing on Torment 3 and 4 and 5, and you put these builds on because you don't have the gear you want, and you slowly trod your way across the battlefield, you know, looking for the big set items. And obviously the second type will be the one epic set / build combination for each of your class. For by that I mean, for your monk, you want to have the Sanruko set with the instance torch. If you're a wizard, you know, you want the whole Marauder set, things like that, right? Every class right now has one very powerful build. But the question there is, guys, right? And the big question, this is what I really want to ask everyone to start off into this topic, is, do you actually think that there is only one build in the game that is viable? Now, the answer that I know to that question while you think about it, to me, the answer is yes and no, right? If you're after being the best in the world, and by that I mean you want to do the best you can and try to get to the highest possible level of the Greater Rift, then yes, each class only has one build which gets you up there. You can make very small tweaks here and there, and that's what lets you, you know, clear Greater Rift 50 rather than 51 than 52. So each class is kind of in that little zone, and that's where we all are. But at this point here, we all complain saying that the game has lost its build diversity. People don't really, you know, there aren't that many builds. People don't really want to try anything else. It's just all about one build. I want to get these sets of items and I can do the best. And this is where the boredom and the dislike, I believe, in my humble opinion, comes for the new patch and for the new season, right? Because initially no new sets have been added, right? I mean, this is something that patch 2.2 will bring, and we didn't even know about it 2 weeks ago when the season 2 was launched, right? So then we didn't get any new introduction idea of sets, and all we were like, hey, I'm going to be using the same build that I was using in the end of season 1 into season 2, and it's all going to be all the same. So in a way, what I'm trying to get to here, guys, is the boredom, the dislike that some people are expressing towards the new season basically is arising from our ability to have the same, our disability, I guess you should say, to actually try something new. We're stuck with the same old build. We want to play with the same old build, and that's that. Now, there are two answers to that, right, guys? First one is I can clearly understand, which is from your side, guys, and that is, and I'm going to play the devil's advocate here. I'm going to take sides of both people. It's gonna be a bit weird, but let's just go with it, right? The first one, as I said, I side with you guys who are playing the game, is if you don't have, if your builds are not if you only have one build that is vastly efficient from the other builds out there, then yeah, you are kind of stuck to play with that build, right? If you want to do Greater Rifts, there is no way you can put a Raymond set and actually do Greater Rift 50, right? It's not gonna happen. If you want to do that, then you have to follow one certain build, and what ends up doing is, if you go into the leaderboards and if you look at the all worldwide leaderboards, even though people try to hide what sets and skills they've been using, you can always figure out that 95% of their skills are exactly the same, 95% of their gear is also the same, and it's all the same thing. And this is what gets boring, because once you find those items, you are bored with the game. But the question then there is, do you actually think, I'm going back to the same thing again, is do you actually think the build diversity has died in the game? Is it something that is not existent, or is it something that we as a community have forgotten what build diversity actually means, right? So let me go to the side here and talk about what a build is, right? What a build is and what a good build is, because those are two very different things. A build, of course, is when you actually have 6 different skills in your slot, you pick up a couple of passives, and you can kill a few monsters, you can even kill elites and all that good stuff without dying that often, right? I mean, that's a build for you, because if you have some weird unsynergistic skills, then it's not going to work. If you get all the heavy cooldown skills in your character slot and you don't have any primary skill, obviously if you run into Torment 6, you're going to die no matter how much gear you have. So that's really not a build. But if you get a couple of skills, one heals you, one gives you a buff, one lets you crowd control, one lets you deal a lot of nuke damage, that's basically a build, right? Build is a collection of 6 skills along with your 4 passives now that lets you kill monsters without dying that often. But what is a good build then? A good build, in my humble opinion, is something that increases the efficiency of the previously mentioned act, and that is, if you put certain skills and certain items, of course, they were also included, in a synergistic way that you could clear a group of monsters way faster than you could do before. That to me is a good build, right? For example, the builds I've made in the past, I've made so many of them, but Fist of the Flying Dragon, which was a community-driven build, right, where you would spam the buttons, you generate tons of spirits, you break your fingers, but hey, you deal a lot of damage. So, and the other one was the Tempest Rush build, where you Tempest Rush through enemies, you deal a lot of damage, you can spawn some Mooka clones if you want to, and things blow up, right? So that's a good build, in my opinion, where you put some skills together and you're dealing damage, and the farming efficiency, your ability to kill monsters, increases significantly. Now, this is where the big question is, guys, is there's a build, there's a good build, and there's a build that you're using on the Greater Rift, whatever. Now, this is where I think we all need to understand the problem there. Now, as I said, if you want to be the best in the world, right now the current game meta allows you to only play with a couple of combination of skills, and that's very true, right? I'm very sure Blizzard agrees with us on that one. They know that. That's the very reason why patch 2.2 is addressing this issue. But before we get into patch 2.2, that's future talk. That'll be in the next podcast at some point. But right now, the patch is not there, and they understand that each person, if they want to play on the highest level of Greater Rift, there's only one build for them to try it out on. But the question again there is then, how much time you as a player, and you have to be honest with me on this one, if you're playing the game for 5 hours, for example, how much of that time are you actually spending doing Greater Rifts only, and how much of that time you're actually spending farming on Torment 6 as well? Because do you remember, as I mentioned in the couple of last podcasts, and I do in my videos as well, is there are certain builds that work excellent on Torment 6. They can even work on the lower level of Greater Rifts. and they are the builds that sometimes are least understood by people. And I'm going to get into a different topic here, but I'm giving my example, right? That is certain builds like the Bell build that I published a couple of months ago that people really liked actually, and it showed a way of farming on Torment 6. It was a build that you could use, and you could pretty much one-shot white mobs, and you could kill elites in 3 to 4 seconds. But if you were to take that build to Greater of 30, it works. Does it work till 37? It works very well. Anything above that, things start to fade. You have to use some other skills, and you have to do things. So the question for you guys is, as I asked a couple of seconds ago, is how much time are you spending actually playing on a higher Greater Rift, and how much time are you spending playing on Torment 6? Because if you are like me, and if you spend quite a lot of your time finding legendaries on Torment 6, then there definitely are so many builds out there that are available for you to use and to try out if you actually give it a little thought. That that would be very, very helpful, and it would be very efficient in Torment 6, because Torment 6, believe it or not, is the farming ground, right guys? You get legendaries in Greater Rift, that's a guaranteed thing almost on higher levels, but most people find it difficult. And if you are watching the podcast, I very much believe that you guys are like the top tier Diablo players, because you are actually spending your time listening to some guy talk about Diablo. That's how passionate you are about the game. But most people spend their time playing on Torment 6, because before you can get there, and if you want to farm more legendaries per hour, most people prefer to do it on Torment 6, right? And this is where I believe it's our community's fault. And as I said, I will play devil's advocate. I sided you guys by saying that you're very right. When it comes to playing on high Greater Rifts, there's only one playstyle available, and that's why you cannot choose any other playstyle but that playstyle if you choose to play on that level. But as I said, if you spend 5 hours into the game, you also spend about 2 to 3 hours playing on Torment 6. But the problem there with our community is we actually use the same build all over again on that difficulty, and we try to play with it, which is good, right? There's no problem with that, because you're still gonna kill at a very fast rate. Things are gonna basically melt, because if you can kill on Greater Rift 50, I mean, who's stopping you doing that on Torment 6? But this is where our problem as a community comes in, right? Because back in the day when Diablo 3 Vanilla was there, I'm sure if you were following my channel from that time ago, I don't know how many of you are, by the way, but I've actually made over 40 builds for monks, and this is not me exaggerating. The playlist you can see has over 40 builds that I've added that work for the class monk. So, and what was like the main underlying thing there, guys? I never claimed for a certain build to be, hey, this is the best build out there or something. I would basically show ways that, hey, are you the person who likes Exploding Palm, or are you the person who enjoys Sweeping Wind or Cyclone Strike? Then you can use so and so build, and you can farm on the highest possible difficulty, which was Monster Power 10 back in the days. So build diversity did exist for only monk class back in the days, because barbarians, as you all know, were ballerinas. They used to spin around with Whirlwind Barbarian. Same thing. But let's just compare one class here, and that's kind of not fair, but that's the class I'm kind of spend a lot of time in. So back in the days, guys like me used to make all those builds, and people enjoyed them. But now most people say to me, and this was a big controversy again that I'm going to go into it, let's actually just talk about it, and that is the biggest portion of complaints I got on the video was not that the video is bad, and by the way, you can say it's bad, it's completely fine, I actually respect everyone's opinion. But the biggest question, I was really happy to see that, and that's again the reason why I'm making this podcast, is I was told that we don't like season 2 because everything is still the same and there are no new builds to try, and it just all pretty much sucks. So I did answer that question first of all by saying that season 2 does not suck, at least for me, because what you're getting in season 2 compared to 1, there's a lot more there. The promise of patch 2.2 is epic, but the one question that you are right, as I said, where I played devil's advocate, is you're very right in terms of build. I sided you, but where I'm not siding you is it's the problem of our community as well, right? And myself, I am included too, because I haven't made that many videos, have I, guys, for showing you guys cool monk builds that you can do on Torment 6 and up to Greater Rift 35. And by that I mean, there are builds that are very much out there that you can still use if you actually try to go away from the build you're using. There are still awesome items in the game, and the damage that you do, the gear set that's available in the game, the sheer DPS that you get out of your character. There are so many awesome builds that you can try that you probably never thought of that you can play on Torment 6 and low Greater Rift. And this is where there's a problem with our community, right? if we are spending majority of our time, or most of our time, or at least 50% of our time, or 20 or 40, whatever percent of our time, playing on Torment 6 and lower greater rifts because we're trying to upgrade our gems, we're trying to find some loot, and we're trying to power level, or whatever we're doing, if we are spending a pretty good finite amount of time on a lower greater rift, then I think it's our fault as a community because we are not trying out anything else. All we saw was one guy, someone like me, basically showing you, hey, this is the bell build. You put the lightning pillar here, you put the lightning palm, and that's it. This is the best build and you should use it there. And we are stuck there, right? Even though we find all the items, and I did mention that before, right? We find all the cool items, but what happens if it's not the item you want for the build? If it's not an upgrade, all you do is you salvage it. Whereas a weird guy like me, I actually store all the items. So what I'm trying to get over here, guys, is even though, yeah, on high difficulties there's only one powerful build out there, but where you spend majority of time, at least where I spend most of my time farming, that's the place where build diversity still exists. There are so many builds out there, and it's kind of made apparent by the Theory Crafting Thursday section. I'm sure you see on the American side where lots of people submit their ideas, right? They all talk about that, this is a build, and most of us are like, oh, this is bad, this is horrible because it's not working on Greater Rift. Well, we all understand that, but we also need to understand as a community that, hey, if this build is being showcased by this gentleman from wherever, if this witch doctor is using this skill, why is this skill being used? Why is certain skill going to be used on this difficulty? And there are cases where so many awesome builds have been shown that are actually more efficient than the fastest farming build on Greater Rift. And by that I mean, if you have a Greater Rift 50 clearing monk build, I'll give you my example actually. Yeah, let's go with that. The pillar build and the palm build that you all guys see on the Greater Rift 50. If you imply that same build on a Torment 6 run, and I run my build, then I can very much promise you that even though you have all the cool items, I can clear it faster than you, because at certain difficulty, it's not just about dealing who's going to deal the most damage. It's all about dealing the appropriate amount of damage along with lots and lots and lots of AoE damage, right? That's what we're all about on our farming difficulty, because farming difficulty is all about efficiency. You want to clear things fast, you want to clear things quick, you want to get all the items. Even though your build hits like a truck, if the instances of that hitting like a truck are small, then in a way you're dealing less damage, or you're actually going for an overkill. You're dealing so much damage that you really don't need to do, and you can actually spend all that resource elsewhere doing something else. So that's what I mean by that, guys. And the Theory Crafting Thursday is one of those places where people submit really nice builds and they have a certain place in the game, right? And I understand if you're not the person, who doesn't want to use them because they might be not applicable to you, but there are people out there who enjoy certain builds, who enjoy the farming builds, and there are also people, new people coming in who are leveling up from Torment 1 to whatever. But as I said, to me, build diversity is still there, and this is kind of an open-ended promise, and I'm going to be leaving you guys with here today. So this is every video I think I make a promise and I deliver it, right? So my promise here now would be is I'm actually going to work on going to be showing some new cool builds for monks at least. People think that monks have no other builds that are applicable on Torment 6 or lower difficult or slightly, lower versions of Greater Rift, and by that I mean like Greater Rift 38, 39, something like that. I have a couple of builds in mind, and I honestly, I'm going to be very honest with you, I didn't upload most of them because of the same reaction the community would give, that hey, this build is not comparing to the best farming build out there on the difficulty, so why should I bother? So this question of why should I bother, I humbly believe this is something that you have to decide on your own, and I've given my perspective, and that is that if you are farming on the farming difficulty, because there is the real difficulty, which is the challenging difficulty where you are competing for the laurels of the leaderboard, and then there's the farming difficulty where you farm for items, and on that farming difficulties there are some amazing undiscovered builds, and by undiscovered I mean undiscovered by the community, that can actually perform way better than your best farming builds on Greater Rift. All the problem there lies is for us to understand, that hey, maybe I should try something out. And even if you don't find the build nice or something, I think it's, as I said, for me, that's the core essence of Diablo, is to kill monsters and get loot, but get it in my way, right? I enjoy the fact that I made this build, and this build is so different from anything else out there that it's cool, it's refreshing, it brings it shines, a new light on the game, it breathes a new life into it, and everyone tends to enjoy a thing, right? Because if all you do is, if you do all, hold down your left click and you walk around left and right, everything gets monotonous, and this is where Diablo gets boring, right? So these builds, this whole issue of builds, of why season 2 is kind of boring to me. I understand, as I said, the problems. I will cover it again, right? Is season 2, still does not have the high tiered builds, that you can use to clear greater rifts. There's only one version of the build that you can use, but that soon will change, as we've just talked about, with all the changes coming in the new patch. But in the meantime, I humbly believe it's the job of our community and guys like me, because I hold myself more responsible than anyone else, because I haven't uploaded videos where I show build variations, because that's what this channel was based on, right? I mean, that's what I used to do back in the day, is that, hey, if you like this skill, I have a build for you that you can try out. So you can expect that from me, guys, in the upcoming weeks, months or so, that I will be uploading some pretty good builds on Monk and probably other classes as well. But as a community, I urge everyone, I really urge everyone to go there. Maybe today, if you can, go and try out and put some random skill on. Think about your favorite skill for your class. A skill that has not been used before, and try to make something out of it. I'm very certain that if you put some good gear together, and if you actually work on the build itself, I'm 100% certain that you can make a pretty good Torment 6 clearing build, and you can use it in your time on the seasons or non-seasons, basically, and have fun with the game, right? Because that's what it's all about. So this is that, guys. This is basically my talk. And as I said, if you have any feedback on this topic, if you don't agree with me on something, and I really hope you don't agree with me on a couple of points, because I would love to get your feedback on that, do share it with me. I would love to know all about this. If you have any questions or anything, I'm always here to answer. You can leave them there. So with that in mind, guys, it's time for me to basically wrap everything up and finish the podcast. I hope you enjoyed this episode. We did talk about a couple of things here, and the first thing, of course, was Season 2 was starting. What are the cool new things in Season 2? Why I personally enjoy Season 2 and did not like Season 1. Then we discussed the kind of shortcomings with Season 2, and that is the duration of the gameplay, the time you spend in Season 2, how long will that thing last, are you going to be playing it for a long time? And I understood the concerns community raised. I really understand them, and I've shared them with the right people, trust me. And before I could even get the points out, I got an awesome reply, and that was, hey, patch 2.2 is coming and here are the changes. So we talked about lots and lots of patch 2.2 changes. New sets are going to be introduced, sets are going to be retweaked. You're going to be given new legendaries. New legendaries are added. The classes will also get balanced, and a couple of nice user interface changes as well. So that's going to be patch 2.2. I very much believe, this is my speculation, that patch 2.2 will launch in the whole span of Season 2. So that's another reason for me. If you're wondering why should I keep playing Season 2 after I found all the new cool legendaries, well, you can farm for the new items, you can find for the existing items, and when the new season launches, you can use them with the new items and make something amazing out of it. And all of that basically boiled down to why Diablo is an awesome game, at least for me. And what makes Diablo awesome for me is the presence of awesome builds. We used to have lots and lots of build diversity back in the past, at least for the class I played, that was Monk. And then Season 1, it kind of was not present because of one kind of build. Blizzard quickly changed that. They updated the build. They gave us an awesome Sunruko build. Same thing goes for other classes, right? The sets were retweaked. They were made better. And as time goes by, they're all getting better and better. And builds, we at least have one very strong build where all classes are pretty much in the same boat when it comes to tackling higher greater rifts, or the bigger number of greater rifts, that is. And then came the big topic where we discussed about builds, or what a good build is and what should a player expect from a build, where we as a community are right and where we as a community are wrong. And that is, yes, we do have, the problem is there, and I'm sure Blizzard understands it, because hey, they gave us a solution before it got any worse, and that was, on higher difficulties, we don't have good builds out there. There's only one build that works for each class, but that will soon change, of course, with the new sets coming into the game and the old ones that are getting retweaked. But on lower difficulty, I still humbly believe that it's partially the fault of our community, where we don't experiment with enough builds. We stick with one build and we stick with one playstyle that makes the game boring, and it leads to us saying hateful things to each other. But the biggest problem there is for guys like me as well, because I'm taking responsibility. I was aware, right, guys, I had some family things that I had to take care of, but I'm back. So the bad things I did there was I didn't share enough builds with you guys, at least for monk class, that shows you how you can act, how build diversity is still present, and how you can take your favorite skill and you can make build out of it and still do great on Torment 6 and lower level of Greater Rift. That responsibility, that big section there where we farm, where we spend most of our time in the game, right? Because we don't always go Greater Rifting. We need to get some Rift Keystone Fragments and the Greater Rift Keystone Fragments and things like that. That time we spend by playing in Torment 6. This is where the fun part of the game comes for me, because in higher difficulties it's all about business, right? It's all about you getting down and putting your try-hard shoes on and getting, at the top of the leaderboard. But before that, that's where builds are still present. It's our job as a community to try out some cool combinations and come up with awesome builds. So I did make a promise, I remember it, and I will remember it till the end, and that is it's my job now to come up with some cool builds to share with you guys. They're not going to be the most efficient builds out there for clearing the highest level of Greater Rift, but what they will offer you is it'll show you ways to do Torment 6 very efficiently and also tackle lower levels of Greater Rift up to 36, 37. So things like that I will be covering in the upcoming videos that I will be posting on the channel. But in the end, I think we did talk about the whole aspect whether season 2 is good or not. To me, as I said, it is an awesome thing, and it's all an opinion, and I want everyone's opinion to be different, because that's what makes us human beings, right? We all have our opinion, and I would love to know yours. If there's anything I missed in this podcast, please do let me know. I would love to address any issues. If you ever have any comments, any problems, any questions, you can leave them here on the channel or on the forums, where I'm actually there all the time. You leave a question for me, I'll be sure to get back to you. So this has been the Holy Hermit for you guys. I hope you enjoyed this little podcast of mine. I will be doing more of these in the future. No dates, of course. I do them when cool things happen in Diablo universe. So thank you. Leave your feedback, as I said again, and I promise them, being your humble MVP in the forums, I will pass on the feedback to the right people. So take care, have a nice weekend, and I'll see you in the next one.